Shirley here with Sirius Dallas Moon. This is Venus hour Jupiter day. Venus is in 13 degrees Sag, and the ascendant is 3 degrees Gemini. Mercury, 29 degrees of Scorpio, with Black Moon Lilith that's about to ingress to the 29th degree. Both of them opposing Uranus in Taurus. Enemy in heaven ruled by direct Saturn. A couple of things that I see coming up with the chart today. Mars ingressed the 27th degree of Sag, separating from the square to Saturn and applying the square Neptune. And the square of Mars and Neptune is to dissolve something. Mars is to act. Okay, Mars is decisive action, Neptune is to dissolve something. So we might feel like we want to create something, and it withers away in the creation process. Okay, I got up this morning at night after eating my first bowl of green, fresh cut leaves that are supposed to be weeds. Not the weed that people smoke, weed. And I spent the entire night saying, I have to wake up in the morning, cut some more of those, add eggs, salt, pepper, and I'll try to make them into those little vegetable. And I had it in my, I never done this before. I never do such things. I wake up in the morning, because I spend the entire night thinking about it. I wake up in the morning, I can barely walk. I say I need to collect carobs. It's gonna be raining. And my mom's like, you want coffee? It's like, yes, coffee. That's Mars in hard aspect to Neptune. What I think I'll be doing versus what I actually have the energy to do. So, this could be absolutely one of the aspects of Mars square Neptune. This big desire to take action, and with Saturn, okay, Mars is still separating from the square to Saturn. So there is a delay, and by the time we can get to execute that action, it's already dissolved. Now, good thing, bad thing, who knows? Okay? Because if I begin to cook, maybe people would expect me to cook. Maybe people would say, Shirley, when do you do those things? Vegetables. Okay? And I already began to think, oh, this is good chicken food. If we had a yard, we could grow some chickens. So, those plants they tell you to weed out, eat them, they're nourishing. But here is the thing, that delay, okay, and that dissolution After the time passes, okay, in about the month where Mars will be sextile in Saturn and Neptune, we will be able to think back and say, okay, probably there was a reason that that action got delayed and dissolved. What Saturn is asking of Mars is, does it stand the test of time? Does the action that you want to take stand the test of time? Neptune is not asking because it's like the water. Neptune dissolve it if it doesn't hold water. Does this dream, does this manifestation that you have in your mind, is it actually what you want? I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, before I did astrology, I was caught in the wave of all the manifestation techniques, and I said, that's amazing. I'll have content creation, manifestation techniques, and so on. And a lot of people manifest relationships of love. I said, amazing, I'll manifest a safe attachment, all of these things of grown-ups, sex that is actually, you know, enjoyable, and so on and so forth. The one thing I had completely not knowing that I didn't know is that the entire love that a child gets, it's gonna sound like a sob story. It's not at all. Even people that grew up to really loving and caring parents, okay, because of the differences in the way that children need, or even if you have parents that have two children, one is like that, one is like this, and so the entire section of childhood to adulthood or teenager, many things were missing there. That the foundation, everything that I would manifest, okay, safe attachment, seeing one another, understanding, good communication, trust, attraction, all of these things, they're grown up things. And when we don't meet the previous needs to the grown up needs, we end up with something that doesn't seem to hold water. And then everything fell flat. Everything fell flat, and it would be only in a roundabout way where I would begin to access those needs that weren't met. Now remember when Lilith was in Cancer, which is my fifth house, and Lilith, you think Lilith, sexual sovereignty, the temptress, the seductress, the demon, the diamond, and all I wanted was a hug. But a hug that is actually loving, that is actually providing in a way that I needed to be provided for. Which, funnily enough, was non-erotic. So that's the kind of thing that can also happen with the Mars square Neptune, which is something falls flat. Some manifestation can fall flat. Some dream can feel like is like like a balloon that's been popped. But this is because it doesn't hold water, and Neptune is going to show us what does. It's going to take us to the real source of where the water at. I was thinking today about the different weeds that grew in different places where I lived. So Before COVID, the neighbor began to grow basil, and we would cut some basil. Now, basil is a Scorpio herb, is very good for discernment. Then I needed to get the fuck out of there because of the witchcraft. And it's true. I don't know who did what, but I needed to get the fuck out. And then at the other place there were thistles. With the fruit there was passion fruit, which tincture is also very calming. I use it in 7th of October. And thistle is very good for the endocrine system. Okay, particularly after the COVID stuff. You know, the thing, the jabs. Um, and there were lavenders growing at the corner of the street. And lavenders are very calming for the nervous system. It's also about being who we are in relations. And then the place was a human trafficking hub, and I had to get the fuck out of there. Still got my childhood pictures there. Okay, so thistle, endocrine system, fifth vital sign. Lavender, being who we are. Trafficking doesn't let people to be who we are, and it harms the endocrine system. Then I saw here herbs that also clear the liver and are considered superfoods. And also contain a ton of iron and magnesium. One herb is even good. Yes, I think for kidneys. And so that was when I caught with the fact that the different soils were in different levels of healing. One was not even rewilded. Okay, because in the first place, the neighbor that was working in the garden, she made a very beautiful garden, and it was her work. She planted the things. The other place, I began to do rewilding, and I would see what grows naturally. Later, Chloe um, from Bloom and Greens, she talked about the fact that the weeds are actually showing us the state of the soil. And I think she mentioned thistle, where the soil still needs to heal and have nitrogen. And there did have moons. So the soil, if they didn't ruin it, then the soil can heal. And then I found myself in another spot. And there were already plants growing like the amaranth. And how do you say the name of that flower in English? I don't know how to say that. Is that chrysanthemum? And that basically, we don't eat the flower with chrysanthemum, but some do. Some boil it as a tea, but I'm not an expert on that. But there, the soil was already way more ready because these plants are actually, and now I think about it, where the man-made soil, I began to discuss fertility, and the man-made soil is good, but we don't actually get to see what's there. And then when we talk about lavender or thistle. Thistle is very good for both clearing the liver and the fifth vital sign and the endocrine system. And this is where it's basically aids not only with fertility of the person, but also fertility of the soil. And I was in the same situation after the jabs. I needed to heal. I didn't do the jabs because I wanted. Okay? So, and then I knew I had to clear that from my body. And then I would move to a place where it's already like a green salad. It's not like it's a green salad. It's basically the stages of my own healing express themselves in the type of soil that I landed on. The transition was beyond horrible. I don't wish it on my haters. In either cases, okay? It was beyond horrible. But it was also necessary that I'll have actually nutrients in the food. And it was when I started to do rewilding, and now what happens? If I let the thistles grow, and I dig up half moon so that they can contain the water and regrow the native plants, it means I need to be on another soil until that soil curates. It also means I dedicated to curate the soil, and then I come to soil that's actually more fertile. So this connection with the land and the actual natural plants that grow there, people call them weeds. They're not weeds. That's what fed people. It's very important. It's not just to heal the soil to grow later, people can grow their garlics, their tomatoes, or whatever, whatever crops. But it's also a holistic healing form with the soil and with the land. Now, about the half moons, is very simple. You take, whatever, I even dug it up with stones, and you wait for the rain or you water the area, and then you dig half moon, usually during the growing half moon. And if you know astrology, then I may have good elections to begin to dig up half moon, so think about it, okay? If I can come up with good elections for that. And so you begin to dig the half moons, and then they begin to hold the water, and they begin to regrow. It's good for arid lands. Also, the only people I knew that recovered, some people that escaped trafficking and so on and so forth, they began to grow things. It's supportive also of the nervous system when we think about grounding and so on. But also when it comes to eating from what we grow. But here, when we have the natural weeds of the land, is basically a homecoming. Now I know there are farmers' protests everywhere and so on. Most of the farming places are not zero rape and are not zero ritual abuse either. Most, not everybody, okay? I'm talking about farm jobs. I'm not talking about people that do their own farm or their own thing. I'm talking about places where people come to work at, okay? So we shouldn't be surprised that of what we see happening. That I already talked about. Mars square Neptune is also, when both are in Jupiter's sign, it is also where the ideas we couldn't defend. Let's talk about, the farmers' revolution. Both Saturn and Neptune are going to say, well, does this idea hold water? And it can be that it does, but it needs some more, some more healing or some more ingredients. For example, digging up half moons, fantastic idea. But what I learned, and this is another wisdom that I had from this transit, is that what are the additional chapters to the dream? To grow up half moons on the land, amazing. But then, if I grow it in arid land and I grow thistles, then it's okay for me to be in a land where I can also eat the greens. By the time that I let the soil heal naturally and begin to grow and begin to fix its nitrogen, if other people don't ruin it, of course. Because than more important than me completing the digging half moons in area and rewilding and reforesting is me healing, being healthy, happy, safe, free, connected with the soil that is compatible with the phase that I'm going through. Some things take time to heal. Okay, the land takes time to heal. I saw a video about two people that bought land and had a lot of olive trees, but the land was untended to and it was closed. So there weren't even animals there. And then everything began to die out. So they spent 5 years completely renovating until the trees yielded harvest. So Saturn reminds us some things take time. Okay, Jupiter is also ruling trees, so forestation takes time, rewilding takes time, and the dream that seemed like it fell flat, it's not that it fell flat, it's like, wait a second, the person that's doing the rewilding also needs to eat, also needs to heal. For some people, the dream is a relational one because Jupiter is in the sign of the moon. And in that case, they may see maybe a relationship fell flat, or there was some separation and so on. And they can see that underneath the conflict, there are more things that need to heal. Okay, if both people need to heal, I don't know, their inner child, that takes precedence over erotic desire, for example. And another thing that came about today is the topic of demonstrations, but also from another point of view, which is we went to demonstrate whether it's the cost of living and so on and so forth, but we weren't even thinking and didn't even know that we can pick the crops that grow by the side of the road. And that to preserve these, not to make it illegal to grow nourishing crops that don't need extra tending to grow, and can feed and fed people through famine, through winters, that's more important than the price of processed milk that is not even, whether you're vegan or not, is probably not what we should be consuming. Okay? So this is where we can think about the food demonstration or the cost of living demonstrations, and also the farmers demonstrations. It fell flat. And say, wait a second, that plant was defined as the world's enemy because it doesn't need me to grow. And it can feed me and save me when I don't have even ability to work. If somebody can pick some plants and cook them, then I can be healthy and I don't even need to water that plant. Some other plants, yes. And it's not about ditching those other plants. It's not about ditching farming or agriculture. It's about sustaining, and of course that affects our immune system. And this is a global issue. It's not a one country issue. Do I not buy, I don't know, garlic at the local market, at the farmer's market, or made that is local produced when I get to? Of course I do. But that's not going to sustain me when I don't have what to buy with. More things that can happen with Mars Saturn, with Mars Neptune, is that we may indeed find ourselves taking action that does stand the test of time. And with Neptune, we may discover that it gets us to the next chapter. It doesn't get us to more, it doesn't get us to the end goal, or to exactly the end of what we wanted to achieve, but it does get us to the next chapter. Okay, for example, for me, taking the train back and forth after not sleeping entire night, knowing that at home there is fish, at home there is meatballs, at home there is food, even if it's not cooked right now. I've already taken an action that was sustaining, that stood the test of time. Of course, it's not enough when you're, I don't know, outside and you're wondering, okay, because you didn't get to prepare yourself food in the morning or something like that, or you had to leave before you could prepare yourself food. But knowing that it's not everything is lost. It's like, hey, that chapter is lost. I didn't get to make myself, a sandwich with herring in the morning. So I ate it when I came back. But it's basically not that I lost everything. I still got food at home when I come back. I took care of that. Okay, so it's kind of like not all the chapters are covered, but hey, there is one chapter that is covered. And this is exactly what's happening with this transit. With Saturn, Mars, the actions that we did take, they really stood the test of time. And yet, with Neptune, it shows us, hey, that one was great. Here is the next level. And Neptune can show us things by showing what is missing. It's like, hey, you see, you got up this morning, you didn't sleep at night, you needed to take space from one another at home, you didn't get to prepare yourself food, you didn't get to wake up slowly, because you still don't have a house you're safe in. And you got to go outside, and there wasn't any sandwich in the bag. But not all is lost. You have food. The food will sustain you through the month. And it's great food. It is great crops. But it also gave us here, what is one thing we can improve upon? Well, I bought a glass of hot water, something that we would do when we traveled. And I picked up some rosemary. So I put it with the rosemary and some cinnamon on it. And I had myself tea that is actually nourishing. And this is exactly the spirit of the transit. It's kind of like, hey, that thing is working, but you see that thing is missing. You know that it's missing. Don't fool yourself that you don't need that. Don't fool yourself that it's luxury. You know that there are some days, and you know that you want to take care of those days, that you're going to have also extra for those days. But it also, here is one thing you can improve upon the situation, and that is something that already holds water. Mars Neptune is showing us what is missing, not so that we'll be staying in the longing, but so that we'll stop fooling ourselves that what is missing is not missing. You know, I'm half Israeli, half Dutch. In Netherlands, the culture is very modest. And that thing got me homeless, because even when I was in Israel and I lived in a small student apartment, I said, what do I need more than that? I don't need more than that. In Netherlands, I wouldn't get anything more in Netherlands. So I was just happy with what I have, which is good. But I fooled myself that what's missing is not missing. And then I got into 2 quarantine lockdowns inside that place where I said I don't need more than that. For 2 whole weeks I couldn't come out of the house. Oh, I'd be fined, and I don't have the accessibility to to prosecute. Okay, like it takes soul efforts. I was healing from the saying no to trafficking in both the academia and the healing professions. So I just spent there 2 weeks each time at home, and in those times, both my computer broke down and my phone broke down. So I could barely order food. Everything. Only now when I tell you that, I remember and I connect with the fact that I couldn't order food, and then I began to tend to food sovereignty and to housing, because to me housing was so traumatic. It still is. This is why I tell you, it's better to kill all the world and have no rape than with a world where there is trafficking and people swipe it under the rug. It's in everybody's savings, in everybody's. The reason that the salary is not actually yielding, the reason that people, even if they do get to have a house and they take a mortgage, they don't usually get to keep the house, is all because of that. To recover from these things, people need land. It's not just land, and here is what I learned. It's not just land. The level of healing is the level of soil healing. So to grow out the weeds, to do the rewilding, to consume the medicinal herbs that grow naturally, and then to move on to the soil that is actually in the level of healing that is the next level up. Or the healing time with the soil. Both options are possible, but the healing has to be in harmony with the healing of the person. And that's a part of sexual sovereignty. Because in fact the rape was to deprive people of their life energy and to take up land is basically no one has the right to, and it was done indigenously before it was done by the elite. And to the elite, by the way. Mars square Neptune tell us, wait a second. There's more that actually is needed here, and until we have that more, it's not going to hold water. With Neptune, the lost dream is lost because the dream is actually bigger. What is to be actually nourishing and actually to manifest is way bigger than what we have asked for, but we don't even know it because in many ways it can be smaller. Okay, it can be, oh, it's not the food prices, it's me being able to not kill the weeds that naturally grow and can sustain me even when I don't have ability to work, even if I had a farm and I had a land. If I lost my ability to work, or I was weak, or there was famine, or there was ice or whatnot, these crops will still grow. Before agrarian society. So in some way it's less, but that dream is even a bigger dream. It's not mythifying slavery wrapped up nicely as hard work that never seems to yield. Oh, where's the money coming from? Wait a second. Those that do the rituals that traffic, they harvest the life energy of the infants and the children and the people to get to basically get a hold over land that is not theirs, not because they're not native or not indigenous, but because they harvested energy with rituals. The indigenous did it and lost their land and got genocided. Now the elite does it. Everybody knows what's coming next. Okay, it happened with, I think it was the Black Death, but the entire aristocracy died. So Mars square Neptune tells us something very important. The dream that we were dreaming is still indoctrinated. We need to get to the root cause. And Neptune unravels the mystery. Now with Mars square Neptune, there's a crisis of unraveling that mystery. Okay? Even in small things like, hey, today I woke up, I didn't have the time to make a sandwich. I had bread, I had, the crops from the garden, I had fish and so on. It wasn't that the ingredients were not there. That if I stayed one more minute at home, there would be a mega pigua. There would be an explosion. Everybody knows that feeling. That's why couples having two houses have more loving relationships than couples living in the same house. It's the same for family. In Uganda villages, there's certain villages where the child gets 12, everybody helps them to build their own little home, little cabin. There's a reason for that. Otherwise, people would go crazy. And I learned about ecological housing, sustainable housing. Is actually those things are not that much of a big deal. We made them to be a big deal over nothing. And this is where Mars square in Neptune is showing us, wait a second, the big massive action that you were going to take to manifest your dreams and so on, it fell flat because what you actually need right now is that thing that you didn't even know you need. Now we also had the moon going over conjoining Ketu, which was ruled by Mercury at 29 degrees Scorpio. And here there was purging of something. And it was to do with this Mars as well. It's the purging of a conflict, of an old conflict. Or we were trying to take action to let go of an old conflict, but it just got bigger. Because now we're not fighting for the food prices. We understand that the invasive weeds that even, there is a plant called the devil plant, or the devil. That's the thing that gets in the shoes. But in desert lands, it gets in the shoes. You know that thing, if they boil it, I'm not a naturopath, okay? It's all knowledge from the common people. So, you know that thing, if you boil it, it becomes like jelly, it becomes soft, and you drink the tea. That's good for kidney stones. So the devil plant that everybody hates is actually medicinal, and it's good for the kidneys. And this is where there may have been an action that was taken to purge an old conflict. But now we understand that, it can also be with Neptune, it could be where people, let's say, depend on the welfare or patronage or the society even. For example, when I was in between houses or homeless, then I met people that I didn't remember that I gave them consultations of what plants to use. There were two women I met. Both of them had the dream to have a place where people can come rest, and just people in between houses and rest and heal in that place, and then were to move on. Both of these women had not and including me, okay, as the person that was the first person to basically manifest their dream, because me staying by them, it was like dream manifesting, but I had to deal with the reality check. It's not that I need to rehabilitate and go back to society. It's that society and my lack of awareness of what needs to change in society were both needing to change. So just like I needed to know, oh, there are those plants at the side of the road that are actually superfoods. If I didn't know that, I'd get stressed about the food prices. I also never had the urge to cook until yesterday. I didn't get to actually cook, but I had the urge to cook. That never happens. The resourcefulness. Oh, if I can't do that, then maybe I can boil it with some hot water, drop an egg in, and it's a soup. I mean, if you add soy sauce or something. Not ramen. Not anywhere near ramen. You have to drop some bacon in, but it's not bacon here. But I don't usually think such thoughts, such dirty thoughts about cooking. And at the same time, it's like, wait a second. Those things that you just had, a bowl of green that was actually nourishing, they got you to fantasize about cooking. The governments usually declare them as the world's enemy because this gets people to be sovereign. So for a lot of people, it can look like that. It's like, oh, they have a dream. People are going to come to rest here and, okay, and to be, hosted here and so on. Fantastic. They arise and they don't heal within 2-3 weeks. And a part of them healing is reconnecting with their own sensuality. And the person that hosts the place has their own demons to heal. Oh, and they're not so good in cooking and doing the dishes. So they don't cook so that they won't have to do the dishes because they don't want to be let down when they try to cook. Okay, if you think about taking one action from the start to the end, particularly when you stay at another person's house. Oh, and they still have to go and steal food outside because they don't want to take from the food of the family. No, and they can't work in those things that they have a lot to give, but they need their own framework, and they need to heal before they can work. And they can't stand on their feet, and if they don't speak their truth, they get sore throat. So how will they work in like sales or marketing or something? And they need to stand on their own 2 feet before they can even date people. And they can't date people because they need to meet their child needs before they. So it's not like, oh, they'll find someone, they'll live with someone. No. Is there even housing for ace people? If not, it means that all housing is currently trafficking. And you see, in those crises, suddenly we remember, for me, I forgot the subprime crisis. After academia, I opened a business, and the money was not even coming to me. It was coming to the bank account that still had a loan that I needed to pay. So I wasn't even seeing that money. But I didn't care because I wanted to make the step to open a business, to begin to make money, and to actually move forward, okay, to show up, even if I don't have it all planned. That's entrepreneurship. We don't have everything covered in entrepreneurship, but we do make those steps forward, even if it's scary. And I began to do 10% of my salary to charity and all these things that are abundance. Actually, from Lara Duncheva, she had abundance teachings. So whether it is charity and all these practices. Now, of course, within me, there was a child that needed rest, needed to heal, needed to be loved, independently of their ability to work, because that's still a child. Now, it's either going to develop ailments or big crises until it gets to be. And the more I connect with my child self, the more self sufficient I am. Because what that child likes to do, it likes to pick up things from the garden and then cook them. It likes to have a podcast about sciencey things. It needs to um, bake creams and salves every lunar cycle. I had no idea. I didn't even know myself.